Long before Twitter and Facebook, there were dial-up internet and home pages.
You remember those? The days of surfing the net are now being preserved, along with the desktop PCs many people used to connect to the World Wide Web.
Queen City News reporter Brett Baldick was not around when these things were out, but he's here, taking us back in time to a local organization making an impact in preserving this technology, Brett.
Yeah, we are going way back in time to when people used these to save computer files. It's an original floppy disk, but then we upgraded to a floppy disk that was more hard-covered. Now we also are now storing files on USB drives, but that eventually, of course, will change. And the computers that used these disks are still around, maybe in your attic or deep in the closet. And there is a Caldwell County nonprofit that plans to open a museum with these old computers somewhere near the Queen City.
We have the power of all the knowledge to mankind usually in our pocket, but it had to start somewhere.
Where technology started is generational. It's different for everyone. For some, maybe it's this first of its kind Apple PC from the 80s, or this mobile computer that weighed more than 20 pounds.
You can click and point on these. Everything else is command line. You have to type it out what you want it to do.
For Brandon Price, computers without an operating system like Windows or Mac OS are worth saving.
To me, it's a time capsule. And, you know, most people dig into the ground to look for those time capsules, where for us, it's in these machines.
Dozens of PCs are in this garage with hundreds more in a storage unit. They are all property of the nonprofit organization Save the Machine, based in Granite Falls. Every computer has its own story or memory.
There's a Dell machine here to my left that is the exact machine I got when I graduated high school.
Old computers are known for classic games like Frogger and Oregon Trail. Saving these relics aren't just for playing games, but to keep technology out of landfills. Eventually, the goal of Save the Machine is to open a museum, allowing all generations to interact and tinker with these classics.
If you can fix one of these, you can eventually graduate into moving into smaller things like your MacBooks or your new MacBooks or your cell phones and that sort of thing.
Before cell phones and smartphones, we actually had to connect to the internet.
You've got mail.
America Online was among the most popular way to surf the World Wide Web.
Went to some random chat room with other kids talking on AOL. That was the first time I went on the internet.
The first time I used the internet was at my grade school. We had one computer, and I think we just went on to an encyclopedia site or something like that. I don't remember what it was.
Rich Bettridge is bringing back that kind of internet. This is his website, theoldnet.com. It's a trip back in time, long before the days of Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok.
It was, in some ways it was more fun, in some ways it was a bit more personal. I think homepages speak to that. You know, nowadays everyone expresses themselves on social media.
Expression during the dial-up internet days is interesting, to say the least. People started archiving the web in 1996, mostly for research. Now, 25 years later, you can still take a look back in time.
When I realized that all these old homepages were still in there, I decided to write a little tool so that I could access them on all my computers here.
Rich now shares the archive tool with thousands of others through his website, an important step in preserving history.
All of our culture is now digital, right? So if we don't back this stuff up, people looking back 80 years from now, there's going to be a giant gap in our culture.
Now, there are literally thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of web pages that are archived and can easily be found through the Internet Archive or theoldsite.com. One of the most interesting homepages I found was Mark Zuckerberg's first webpage before he created the Facebook. It was from when he
Really?
was in
No way.
high school, and he said, "Hey, I'm Mark Zuckerberg. You know, this is my homepage." So it's on the old site.com. We've placed all the information on qcnews.com. We have links to the website and how you can go back in time, maybe find some website that you love too. One of the ones I went to when I was showing people in the newsroom was candystand.com, because when I was a kid, that's where you played all the games, and it was literally like Nabisco.
Ted's nodding up and down over there.
Yes, you'd play
Ted
mini
knows.
golf, and it was a legit candy stand where you had to click on the candy, and then the game would pop up. So
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
a lot of
Oregon
fun
Trail
stuff.
just took me back
Yes,
to like
yes.
first
You
grade.
didn't want to die in dysentery or your wagon wheel to break or tip over in the river. Or just
I
hard
just remember
stuff.
waiting, so excited to connect using AOL.
Oh,
you know,
me
hear
too.
the dial-up, and when you finally connected to the internet, you're like, oh, I have access to the whole world right now.
That was back when it was cool
huge.
if you got an email. It's like, oh, we got email. Now
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like we have emails. It's
Now
like we
you're like,
always
oh,
have
great, I
email.
got
It's always
10,000.
there. Yeah,
I
it's
like
always
the
there.
instant messenger, getting to talk to your friends.
Yeah,
What's
now-
your screen name?
Instant Messenger doesn't exist anymore.
I
Which
know.
is
It's crazy. A question though, at this museum, where do they get their old computers? And do they have extras? I mean, what do they do with the leftovers?
So they get a lot of donations from everyday people, but also businesses, organizations. I mean, think about our newsroom. How many computers we have?
I got a couple. I'll donate mine right now.
We have to upgrade. So they get those from some organizations, and some of the newer, older computers, like ones from the last couple of years, they'll refurbish those and give them to organizations in need. But obviously, they're not giving them that 20-pound mobile computer that will not be very, very good for anyone anymore. But
Right.
when he showed me that mobile computer, mobile, 20 pounds, the screen was smaller than our cell phone. But back in the day, that's what people used,
Yeah.
and they did coding on it and things like that.
And you say back in the day, but it really wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it was late 80s, early 90s. So,
Yeah.
but things changed so fast, but it was fun to look back at some of those computers. As soon as I walked in that room, the first computer I saw was the one that we had in first grade, the Apple, where the keyboard is attached to the monitor.